Hi, everyone. Welcome to Between Two Coaches. We're on a mission to make fitness more human, snark sold separately. And I'm Coach Amanda, joined, as always, by my co-host.
It's Coach Nick. That's me. And thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We have a fantastic episode today. It's better than great. We're going to talk about the wellness identity epidemic. It's sweeping the nation. We're going to give out some listener love. We're going to answer some questions and air a grievance. And just have fun like we always do, right, Amanda?
We are the fun. We bring the fun. And I also brought a fan today. In case you missed it last week, we got the air conditioning unit right next to the Amanda Cat studio to avoid that sound, that window box air conditioning sound. We got a Lasco tower situation blowing from the northeast.
I can't even hear it.
It's quiet, yes.
Yeah, we like that.
Fan. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. We like a cool girly.
Yes, we do. How are you feeling, by the way? I saw you had some strep throat.
I did. Yeah, this is like the second episode in a few weeks that I'm playing hurt again. My Michael Jordan game again. I'm playing sick, but I'm here. It was funny. Probably had a little. I get colds from time to time. I think it's normal. I get like a little sore throat, and usually it goes away pretty quickly when I'm smart about it. Get my sleep.
It's normal if you're soft. I'm just kidding, everyone. I'm just kidding. None of that toxic masculinity on this podcast. Absolutely not. Never, ever.
So I was a little sore throat on Friday, and I was like, I'll go for my long run on Saturday. I met up with an athlete, and we did like 14 miles, and it was hot, but I felt like absolute death, and like above and beyond what I should feel. Like I was actually fueling properly and watered everything, and I finished. And I went to bed that night, and I was like feeling a little better as the day went on. I woke up, and my tonsil was like huge, in my tongue, huge, and I looked at it immediately, it was red, and I was like, oh, I got strep. And I immediately got in the car and told my wife I'm going to the doctor and I'm getting meds. And I just went over there and they're like, yeah, you obviously have strep. And I'm like, yeah. And so I'm on antibiotics for 2 days now. So haven't been running. I've been doing a little thing they call resting, but feeling a little better. Just the throat is a little sore now, but nothing that Olipop, watermelon, lime can't fix. I think it's proven to fix sore throats. It says it on there somewhere.
I think carbonation actually might not. It might not be ideal. Neither of us are professional.
On that. Yeah, I don't know.
We're not in the professional position to make comments on that, but we'll just talk smack instead. Okay, so you're on antibiotics, you're on the up and up, and I'm guessing the Olympic trials have supported you in your recovery.
They have. I don't know if you've been watching, but it consumes my nights. I like that it's at night, and like it's live, right? Because sometimes it's in like different places, and I can't go without being spoiled, right? Like I'll be on the internet and I'll find out immediately what happened when it happens, and then I won't want to watch it later because it's not live to me if I already know the result. So it is fun that it's on each night and we can watch. I'm loving all the content. I like the sprints, even though I'm a distance runner. I think the sprinters are super fun and have super cool personalities. Snoop Dogg's there, and he's given some content about steeplechasing.
Putting running on the map. Could you have imagined this day where Snoop Dogg is at a running event?
No, it was funny. I mean, they also had him with Noah Lyles and the briefcase and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and it's all running. I don't know. I feel like we do a bad job of like selling the track and field trials as like this event with tons of stories and coolness and like all this because if you really just go down and tell people, hey, here's this race, and people are going to run for less than 2 minutes, and 3 people are going to live out their Olympic dreams, and 5 people are not going to, and they're going to run all out as fast as they can, basically for 2 minutes, and then they're going to come down to like a meter at the end in some of these races. Like that's crazy. It's cool, but I think running does a bad job of explaining that because sometimes the event's 30 minutes long, and it comes down to the last lap. But a basketball game is the same thing. You watch basketball for 3 hours and it all comes down to the last shot. All sports are like that. I think track doesn't really sell itself as well.
We have work to do. I think Snoop Dogg is a good start.
He is. Did you watch any? What were you enjoying if you did?
I try to not watch as much content related to my job as possible. I like to watch the little clips after. I've been following some of the Brooks athletes, of course, and I am a very large Sha'Carri fan.
The best.
Her energy is
her nails.
What the sport needs. The nails, we love a fresh set, and just the way that she uses her entire body to show how enthusiastic she is about her performance it's a stunning spectacle. She beat her chest as she was going through that finishing shot, and I replayed that 2 to 10 times. So that was enough for me. I think I also watched maybe a couple of interviews. Charlie, the 16-year-old.
Quincy.
I mean,
he's from our area, my area. I know.
Crazy. Yeah.
Can't even drive
just
yet.
Little bits and pieces. What'd you say?
He can't even drive yet. He doesn't have his license. But he
doesn't need it. He has his feet.
He can run everywhere in 44 seconds as long as it's 400 meters away.
That's right. That's right.
I as a track athlete in college, I think I have an affinity towards the track, even more in the roads. Like, I lived my life a quarter mile at a time. Like Dominic Toretto, I've been rewatching Fast and Furious, so it's fresh in my mind. But like, just the track races were always so interesting to me. Like, there's so much going on you don't even know. Like a thing Mo getting tripped yesterday. Like, that's a real thing that like can happen all the time in these races. Everyone's real close. Like, you don't get that in the roads. Everyone takes up their little space. No one's really on top of each other. On a track, you're literally on top of each other because you're trying to run the shortest distance possible. So yeah, I like it. It's a lot of fun. But yeah. How's your week been going?
It's been fine. I have nothing to report that is negative or positive. I'm in a neutral place.
We love a neutral week. Sometimes we need just nothing, right? Sometimes that is just what we need.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say okay. It's relative. Yeah. It's relative. I got some things done that I've been putting off. I like to put out a monthly newsletter. Wanted to share some of my, like, I was opening up my running roster. I wanted to share that with the folks.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure I had a good amount of bagel content this weekend. That way everyone felt like they could participate in their favorite series. It's just feeling fine about it all.
Yeah. Well, if you need a coach, anyone, Amanda has openings and she is amazing. So highly, highly recommend. Yeah, that sounds like a great week.
How are your birds doing? I know you've had strep, so you haven't been able. Have you been watching them now that you have some more time on your hands?
They're staring at me right now. From where I sit, I can literally see the little birdie's head. He's popping out. He's looking at me. I don't know. It's a lot, right? All of a sudden, there's like 20 birds in my backyard. And like, I don't know if they're all from this one mother. The funniest part was watching the mother bird go to work, right? She is relentless. She is just nonstop feeding. She'll like fly away because I'm sitting right here. It's where my computer is. And like, I'll look over and there she is feeding and she's just sitting there and the bird's got its mouth open. It's like more. And she's like, I'm literally exhausted. Give me a second. She flies off, comes back with more food. Birds. She's just all day long. She's just flying back. I won't open the door because, like, I was told you can disturb them. It like screws the whole thing up. So my kids and I, that's where their swing set is. We won't go near it. But there's definitely a lot of birds. And the mama bird is doing her thing.
We don't deserve moms. We don't.
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, frogs, birds. I saw a snake. So we got it all in my backyard. Telling if you want the experience of some some nature, just come backyard and we'll get you.
I'm good with the subway rat. I'm good with the subway rat. I'm okay.
There's a coyote at Central Park, right?
There's always a coyote in Central Park. It's like, yeah, we always got random wild animals and people doing silly things. So yeah, I'm good though. I'm good on the wilderness front. I don't really need more.
Yeah.
I'm good. We have we have a listener love question day and a review.
Good.
All right. So I'm going to have you, because I don't have it pulled up. And why would I? I'm going to have you read the listener love question, and I don't mind participating thereafter.
Sure. It is from Gemini K8. And the question is, how do you stay motivated daily?
I don't. How about you?
Well, I don't, but I do, right? Like, I think there's levels of motivation, right?
It exists on a spectrum, for sure.
Yeah, like every day I don't will myself to go run even when I don't want to. Like, that's not the motivation I think of. Like, sometimes the motivation is to listen to my body and not do the thing. But like the general motivation, like every day I'm doing something, right? You know, we're podcast hosts now, you know, I'm a running coach, I have a job, I have kids, I have running. So every day one of those things is happening, right? And so I am motivated to partake in those things, to put my energy towards those things. Some days they all happen, some days they don't. I think the key to motivation to me is, you know, being excited about doing it, listening to my body, and understanding that, like, you know, even sometimes if I set my goals to do, let's say, 10 miles, and I'm out there and I want to stop at 6, I motivate myself to do 6, and that's great, right? It doesn't always have to be all or nothing. Motivation, like you said, exists in a spectrum, and like you can really talk yourself down and take a great thing that you're doing in life, where, you know, maybe you're putting a lot of pieces in a lot of places and doing a lot of things only only pieces of them, and then you could talk yourself out of the greatness that you're doing. Or you could acknowledge, hey, I'm showing up in many different ways in what I have available. That is my motivation helping me do that, and that's wonderful.
I was being a jerk earlier. I will say that the answer isn't no. It's a little complicated for me because my job, so for the better part of the last decade, my job has been to enter a fitness studio and get people hyped up, encourage them to move, to exercise. And so I do that at least 15 times a week professionally. So for me, I think that when I get up for my first class at 6:30 in the morning, I have to flip a switch, and the switch has to go on whether or not I am feeling motivated.
Yeah.
So it's almost it's by like necessity. And then when it comes to my physical activity, which tends to be around the classes I teach, how I talk myself through it is I'm already out. I'm setting myself up for success. I'm making sure in my gym bag that I have my gel, my electrolytes, my post run protein carb shake. I have an audio book that I'm listening to. I'm listening to this Michael Jordan biography right now.
Oh.
So I have something to like look forward to. And then I'm like, I've just convinced myself to run today, or I've just convinced myself to do split squats today. So I think that we just have to put ourselves in a position to be successful and something to look forward to, like you were saying.
Yeah, that's the best way of saying it. Like, you know, give yourself a chance to have that. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But like, you know, sometimes we don't eat or drink, and we lay on the floor and we consume content for 2 hours, and then we're like,
that's not success.
I can't get off my run today. My time's passed. Well, like, it's okay. Well, that's a little different, right? If that's what you want to do that day, by all means. But like, you know, setting yourself up if you want to have that success looks a little different than that. And then motivation kind of follows suit with that. So that, and then let me know when you get to the flu game with Michael Jordan, so you can kind of compare what I'm doing today with like that game for his, unless you mean the other Michael B. Jordan.
No, I mean Michael Jordan. Yeah, it's definitely reminded me of something I saw on the internet the other day. Somebody wrote something stupid, something like one of the world's best athletes is Lance Armstrong. And in case you've missed it, Netflix did a phenomenal job at a documentary series where they really unveil a lot about Lance Armstrong, and he really does it to himself. He is himself, which is what was very interesting to me. So I wrote a comment on this person's thread, and I wrote, "You spelled Michael Jordan wrong." So anyway, I don't know how we got to that place, but that is a great question. So thank you for that question, Gemini.
K8.
K8. Yes. And we have a review from our Buy Me a Coffee platform, which is a easy way to support us financially. And we are so grateful. So grateful. So Erica B, she shared a little note with her support, and it says, hands down, the smartest, safest, and let's be honest, funniest running/fitness podcast out there. Keep up the authentic and useful banter, you two.
That's so sweet.
Not like the band, as in us. Between two TWO coaches. Erica, thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica. That's so sweet.
I feel like I just grieved a lot over somebody thinking that Lance Armstrong was one of the world's greatest athletes, but this may shock you. I have another grievance.
2 in 1 hour.
I think that Threads is just like a breeding ground now for me of grievances. It's what it's turning into. Do you have that experience?
I do. I've been using it to sort of like question things that I don't understand, but like I find that you can actually have a conversation. Like if you go on X and you write anything, like it's terrible, it's rude, it's people, it's political, it doesn't even matter. If you go on Threads and write stuff, like people will comment. Sometimes people will, even if they come at you hot, like they're coming at a place of a conversation. So I've enjoyed talking about things like what's a hybrid athlete, and I still don't know. And, talking about running clubs and this whole new thing that's going on with that. But I have found Threads to be a good place for, talking through things or even finding things that I'm definitely going to grieve about.
Yes. Future grievances, future random things content for me. There was a thread shared a couple of days ago citing a New York Times article, The Everything Guide to Partying Without Regrets. That was the name of the article. And I'm just looking down because I want to make sure that I am seeing or that I'm sharing exactly what I'm seeing. So in the article, one of the tips for this, if you want to host a party at your home, was please don't ask people to take off their shoes when entering your apartment. It's rude. So this is written by Rebecca Gardner, and it's followed by, I guess, a gentleman, Romilly Newman. And he says, when you invite people into your home, you need to let go. You can't be like, you can't touch this, and you have to take your shoes off. And if you spill something, you are in trouble. Hosting is letting your guests enjoy themselves. To that I say, the fuck I will. Don't ask people to, I'm not asking. You will not wear your subway striding, popping shoes in my apartment. What? Excuse me, what? I'm not even going into like the cultural unawareness of these quotes. We won't even go into that. We won't touch that. But just know that I have a grievance, and it's against Rebecca and Romilly. Step to the front.
I don't even know where to start with this. My kids take their shoes off when I get home. I take my shoes off when I get home. There's no shoes around my house. Like if you have carpets, even worse. But anything, like shoes are like the dirtiest things in the world. They touch everything outside. There's no way I want that tracking around my house at all. Absolutely not. I saw a similar. I don't think I saw the same article. I saw some editorial where it was like, why I won't take off my shoes when I come to your house. Which
you're not invited. You're not invited. That's what I have to say.
Why you won't be coming to my house? it's I don't know. The first thing I do when I go to someone's house, I take my shoes off. I just not even like they don't even ask. Like I'm like I don't want to track my dirty shoes through your house. I just walked through something to get here. So I don't get it. That's a no brainer. Like people come to our house, we take our shoes off. Duh.
It's the disrespect for me. My French bulldog, his paws are cleaned before entering this house.
I don't do that.
Well, that's because I don't know why you don't do that, but Bubba's feet are his shoes.
That's true. Oh, now I'm gonna start wiping Georgie's paws.
Maybe Georgie has more etiquette on the street. Bubba doesn't mind stepping through like somebody who sleeps on the sidewalk, for example's piss. Like Bubba doesn't mind that. He welcomes that. So
Yeah.
in New York City, like we have to take certain measures into our own hands. Everyone's welcome here, but you got to take your shoes off. You understand? And that's that bullshit.
That's that bullshit. Play sound clip. We also need one. If you have a sound clip for that's that bullshit, please send it to betweentwocoaches@gmail.com. Thanks.
Please do that. Please do that for us. Some pro bono work. We need it. So where are we? We're on the grievance. Let's go into our topic today.
It's topic time. So it is going to be, today's topic is the wellness identity epidemic. So let's start with, we'll both kind of get into what we'll describe it as. So, for me, this thing has been coming. It's hit its, apex of what's happening. So it's to me, it's content creation masked as a training experience. It's wellness that shows up as someone's identity because of content, right? And so what I mean by this is there's a lot of content being created. People's lives are they're showing their lives as wellness. They're showing through the examples of their fitness routines. And it's sort of being pushed as this is the way. This is the wellness of your life needs to be identified with how you perform this long, rigorous routine of things. Your 47 supplements, your skincare routine, whatever it is all now masked as this identity of wellness. And, I think half the time creators do this stuff, and this is the stuff they do in their own life. They just do it for the purpose of creating content. It's just created in this world of, here's all these products, use them, you'll be as well as me. And it's masking this idea of wellness has to be all these things, this entire experience. And, it's giving too much. It's giving that we don't need all this in our lives. What do you got, Amanda? How do you want to describe it?
When you brought up this topic, I was thinking about how the way that the influencer has been glamorized and we've conflated so many things as a result of it. Somebody who does not have credentials, does not have experience actually working in a health and wellness capacity, yet has a following. Companies reach out to them, share products with them, whether it's clothing or supplements, and then they are tasked with making it look shiny. And I think that some of these creators, some of these influencers who lead us through their run vlog or their get ready with me or whatever they're doing have convinced themselves that the routine that they're showcasing, that they're performing, is actually what health is, what wellness is. And it's just coming from it's coming from a place of privilege, and it's making health and wellness actually less accessible to general population. So that's what I think of. I also think it becomes the folks that I see leaning into this weird side of wellness all seem to have some unresolved issues with finding a community. And I don't, it's like they're lost and they want, it's a very predictable pattern for me when I'm watching one of these either long form content videos on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. It's the same pattern. They identify with something that other people can kind of identify with. For example, they run, right?
I run.
You run. You run, I run.
Oh,
then
this is for
they
me.
have an opportunity once they build that following to sell and get others to buy into whether it's a product or a service or just engagement for them. Because a lot of these brands will pay these content creators based on the amount of views and clicks that they're getting on their content. It's kind of culty. It's it's like the normalized MLM of our time. Or you'll see like a little bit of science, like they'll find a single study with, for example, 10 white men in their 20s as a sample size that the product that they're sharing works for, or they'll have some random guy with a PhD speak on something, and then that is all the data that a consumer needs to be like, yes, I'm going to buy that collagen, even though it's not third party tested. That's a great idea. That's a great idea for my tendons. Let me add to cart with your discount code.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we have to remember what's happening too in society, right? Like, so once we hit this pandemic, people stopped using cable as much. What was cable TV? Well, it was a place to put commercials. How do you sell products? And well, people stopped doing it and then they went online. And so there's sometimes commercials in there, but we can really avoid them pretty easily. So what are marketers going to do? Oh, well, look at this TikTok thing. Why don't we just have people sell products there? And it became about sales, which is fine. People created businesses themselves. And sure, we love entrepreneurs. Go off, get that bag. But you have to realize when you're consuming content that it's a commercial. It is sometimes people who are using the same way they would market on a commercial themselves of, oh, well, you have a problem. You're the same like me. You're a runner. Oh, you have a problem, just like I do. I have this solution here. Let me use particular buzzwords. Let me optimize your life. Let me use things that help you get ready. If I put these buzzwords in here, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I need that green powder, because you related to me and I'm similar, right? And so it's just being careful that we're not making sure we as consumers aren't identifying too with this wellness world, which is really just sales. And, I think also this epidemic is really existing in this world where it's showing off parts of wellness that don't really indicate health or fitness, like aesthetics, green powers, then, and they're done in a way to grab your attention on them versus like providing any model whatsoever of training or wellness or experience. Like it's none of that. It's just, hey, here's the parts that have nothing to do with wellness, but I'm going to show them off to you. I'm thin and I take a green powder. I want to be thin. I'll take a green, like it. Yes. So yeah, I think that is. Do you have anything else to add on summing up what we kind of imply as this epidemic is?
I think that what you said earlier is that they're also just using buzzwords that really prey on folks or maleducation of what health actually is. So you see biohacking, longevity, optimization, you mentioned that. They lose their meaning though, these words, because the creator's goal is to sell themselves or the product or the service, but they don't want you to know too much from the jump. Otherwise, you won't bite.
Yeah.
So at its core, like I said, it preys on you not being an educated consumer and also our insecurities, whether that's our individual health, our weight, our body, our fitness. And even, I think at its worst, it preys on our fear as humans of dying, right?
Yeah.
We are I'm seeing more and more content of like how we can extend our lives more and more and more. Like you're preying on something that's pretty damn dark. So I think the wellness identity has multiple layers.
Yeah, and we're not just shitting on influencers, right? Like it may sound like it is, but like there's a way to create a community and create people that enjoy your content and consume without like trying to trick them, sell them, you know, you know, what's the word? Manipulate them, any of those things, right? Like you can just come up with a silly word like moist and like create a community around it being moist over the summer. Shout out running Kristen. But so like
Yeah, she did that.
Yeah, so you can do little things like that. And that's fun, and we're not manipulating anyone into buying something that's moist. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would. So we're not just trying to say like everything you consume is lies, but around the wellness world and this epidemic here is trying to trick you with these types of phrases, these types of words, and this type of content to make you assume that this is what wellness is.
That's right. So I think the next area of discussion, we're kind of going into it, is why this kind of content, or why this epidemic why it's causing problems and how it's trickling down into individuals' lives.
Yeah. So the way I see it, right, it absolutely influences the way people train. It's the way they approach wellness, the way they approach fitness. You watch someone go through an entire routine and all these supplements and all these products, and you assume that the only reason, they're probably fast too, which has nothing to do with any of this. It's probably genetics. But you see this, and fast is relative again, but like maybe they're faster than you. And right, so then you see all this and you're like, oh,
or they're thinner than you, or they live in a different body than you, right?
Yeah, or any of those things that the world is telling us we need. And so then you say, oh, well, I need all these things because that person is doing that. And I need that. I need to train this way. I need to be more all in. I need to sacrifice all these things. This other person is doing it. Well, and we're just doing this comparison thing again, right? Like we always talk about. We had an episode on, not comparing, but like, it's really driving you to a world to show where you aren't committed enough because your identity isn't wellness, right? Because you can't create an entire existence around this world. You're not committed because Johnny over here on the spot is doing this whole routine. He's got an hour video of how he gets ready for his run, and then it fuels it forward, and all the supplements he takes, and all the exercises, and then he uses Normatec boots, and then his Theragun, and then he's in an ice bath, and then he's in a sauna at the same time somehow, and he's not electrocuted. Like, who knows? He's doing it all, right? Because he's got infrared gun. He's in a cryo chamber. But why aren't you? Like, why aren't you doing all those things, Amanda? Why aren't you preparing yourself for your wellness?
Because I have a job, Johnny. I can't. I can't. I don't have time for your nonsense. No, I think that for me, what I'm hearing from you is that it's masking all those things that you shared. That's a deeply disordered routine, and that's one that we see so often in fitness culture. So in my mind, without diagnosing someone with a formal eating disorder, right? We don't do that here. It really may be masking a deeply disordered relationship with health and themselves. The irony in an obsession with health is actually one of the least healthy mindsets one can have. Generally, it isn't about health at all. Like you were saying earlier, it's rather the aesthetic of health. It's thinness, it's access, aka money for the plunges and the wearables and the green powders. And the evidence behind any of these things moving the needle on someone's health is either minimal or zero. But society doesn't have time or the education to read those studies, and they trust these names with big platforms.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like if you see someone with a lot of followers and they're doing something, like we assume they know what they're talking about, that their audience follows them because of their wellness routine or their identity in wellness or what they know. And none of that necessarily is true, right? It's really just, and remember, social media is at the end of the day, it's a manipulative game of having some system that you create or you tweak to make sure you get views and posts and likes and comments and follows and whatever it is. It's all, at the end of the day, it's meaningless, but like we look at it as like, well, like it's like high school again. That's the popular people, so I should listen to them, or I have to get in with the popular crowd. So I'm going to do what they say, or I'm going to listen to what their advice is. So it causes problems because it continually makes us feel like we are struggling through this existence with our routine where we aren't doing enough or we aren't finding the right places. We aren't, we're masking, they're masking certain disordered behaviors that we're now taking on ourselves that we aren't prepared, we didn't have in our lives before, and we aren't prepared to, now work through, that we didn't need.
Yeah, I think we really are underestimating the amount of influence this has on us. Even if you're not somebody who has, if you're heavily invested on social media, it's a slippery slope. And it's really easy, like Nick was saying, to get caught up in believing you're not doing enough. Even if you identify with somebody 1%, let's say you're a runner, let's say you're a mom, right? That's the worst for me. We were talking about this offline earlier. When I see influencers who are, well, my problem is that I want to support moms, parents, women. I want to support. And then sometimes I just want to slap people too. That's my problem. It's like I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but the messaging that they're putting out is not one that is realistic. When you work with, and both myself and Nick do work with real people who work 9 to 5 and above and beyond that, who are single parents, who lack the resources that they need to get movement in a way that they wish they could, right? And that's a big challenge. That's a big challenge to see somebody and want to identify with them. But there are all these barriers to entry that don't need to exist.
Yeah. And, you have access to people's lives we didn't before, right? Like, you used to meet someone at an exercise, the gym or anywhere where you do fitness, and they talk, here's what I had this breakfast, so this is the thing I ate before, and that's all you have. And you're like, well, that sounds good. Maybe I'll find it at the store. Now you're like watching someone's entire routine. You have access to all their stuff. They're basically a commercial to you. And now you're consuming it all and acting like this is how it is, right? We have so much access and we don't have a good way of filtering it out because we see people as, well, they're healthy, their wellness is fine. I need that, right? This is all I'm missing, right? And when in reality, they're probably doing their best and they're probably doing more than enough. And there's so much gatekeeping that goes on. That is a great way of like making sure you're pushing wellness and you're pushing this epidemic on people is by gatekeeping people and making feel like they're not even there, not in the same arena as me. Well, you're a parent and I'm a parent, but look what I get done. Okay, great. My life's different. That's okay. Like, I don't know how you're showing up in your family's lives versus mine. I don't care, but like, this is what I have available. Do not gatekeep me from feeling like I can't chase my goals because, your routine, you're showing it in a way to convince people what they're missing. Right. So I think that's important about what it's causing and what we're not understanding when we're consuming so much of someone's life.
I also I kind of wanted to, I think we're at where we started to talk more about how we're seeing it come up. I just had a brief brain fart. How we're seeing it come up in content as you were sharing. And one of the things one of the areas that I'm seeing it is, as I was sharing earlier, they'll toss around phrases that are really marketable to a consumer, like experts suggest. They'll have somebody with any sort of clout talk about something, and because that person has clout or a following, it's a marketable product or service. Tossing around the phrase, for example, experts suggest, or doesn't mean much when anyone with a fork feels qualified now to speak on nutrition, or anyone who runs and wears a matching set talks about zone 2 running, right? It's like we've lost what's real, and like you said, there's no real way to filter it. Social media companies aren't interested in filtering it that much. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist as a platform, and businesses wouldn't have easy ads.
It's easy access to consumers, right? 9 out of 10 Knicks recommend Zone 2 running. That's obvious. But like,
that's an evidence-backed statement. You're the evidence. Your name's Nick.
Yeah, I just need nine out of Knicks. But yeah, so it is. People's jobs are now marketing, right? And so that's what social media is. A lot of people use this as their business. And again, like I said earlier, like, go get that bag. That's great that you found a way to market. But like, now we're talking about it. First off, don't make that your identity. This is your job. Just like when I go to my job that isn't anything to do with social media, I'm not assuming this is what I am. Although I'm a software engineer all the time, although I have those abilities to do things. Like, I'm not doing my job the rest of the day. I'm just a software engineer during the work hours. So just like your job is fitness, your job is this, that's okay. But like, it's not your identity. All right. So making it feel like that, and by selling it at all times and showing everyone about how everything in your life revolves around this identity, and everything you do and every product you do, it's really about, like, for them, it's about selling content and getting views and going viral and like getting their noise out there, right? And so that's why phrases like Zone 2 take off, because someone uses it and it does really well, so someone else uses it and someone else uses it, and we don't even know. By the time people have used it so much, and I wrote this on Threads like earlier this year, like, I wish that would die in the running world was Zone 2, because no one even knows what it is. Like, the people don't understand that every watch does Zone 2 differently. They have their own different system, like that it's heart rate data coming from your wrist. Good luck. Like, none of this, and then they're like, 100% of my run in Zone 2. It's like, okay. Like, so, but like the phrase, and then we use it so much that everyone is like, well, that's the only way to get faster is if I just run in Zone 2 all the time. I need some, system that tells me. I need a device, and I need some direction. And the direction is, if I do everything in this zone, I will become the great runner, like someone told me. That's just a tiny little example of how this wellness identity epidemic exists, because that is someone using something that's buzzworthy, that will get in front of everyone, that people will click and like, that's just divisive enough, that's just, get argumentative enough, because then science people will come and be like, well, this has no backing whatsoever. And everyone will argue, well, my influencer knows, because they have this, like, because people are now like, we're a cult behind the person we follow. We have to defend them against everything. And so now you've created this divisive post where everyone's arguing, and you love it because, you know what? It's just going through the roof and it's just doing great. And everyone sees that. And then we're just using words like this that have no meaning, trying to sell it to you. And then people who can't understand right from wrong, can't understand that really Zone 2 isn't the only way to train, are consuming it all the way down here. And the new runners who are like, oh, I'll just do that. And they're lost in this. And that's not even selling a product. It's just selling a phrase that sells a person who's trying to sell themselves more to you in the future as an expert.
I think there are also, the disclaimer here is I do not consider myself an influencer. However, there are several brands that I align with, and there are certain discount codes or commission that I make if somebody purchases a product through a link that I share. One, as somebody who does this, like, there's a responsibility that I have, because I have to be honest with my community at all times. And that's an Amanda thing. I have to be authentic. So if somebody purchases a pair of, or wants to purchase a pair of Brooks running shoes, and they ask me if these are the best shoes for them for their next speed workout or their long run, I genuinely will tell them, I don't know. You should absolutely go to a store and try them on first to see if they work for you. And then I see other influencers or other folks in this space sharing, like, yes, I highly recommend it. It's just, there's no way that I could do that with a straight face and just blindly recommend things and compare my experience as somebody who, prefers one gel, right, over another gel when I'm sharing products from the feed that I like, for example. That's another company that I work with. I can't say like how you're going to respond to that. I can't say that you're going to enjoy the taste of that. I can't say these things. I think that we've grown so accustomed to somebody else just telling us what to do, and because we want the answers quickly. Anyway, that was a long way of saying that influencers can also be ethical, and they can be authentic, and they can be honest about their experiences with products. And I actually think that their community would respect them more if they were, instead of being a salesperson for the brand.
And that's on us as the community too, to demand that of the people we follow. I mean, you don't have to show up in their comments and just rip them to shreds every time. They're just going to block you, and like I guess it's the same effect. But like, it is holding people responsible to that. Like, if their company they work with comes out with a new shoe, and they're like, all 20 of the influencers who work at the company say this is the best shoe ever, and I wear it all the time, that day that it releases, there's something on the company to be like, hey, company, don't force this on all your people, because that's unauthentic to the influencers who are supporting you, but also on the people to say, hey, maybe I don't like this shoe, and you never see them wear it again, and you're like, oh, okay, well, like, this is very unauthentic. Like, but it's both sides, right? Like, the companies, they don't care, right? I'm not gonna say all, but there's a lot of companies who just want, you work for me, I give you whatever, you will push my products. You will tell everyone it's the best. You will tell everyone to wear it on the certain day, that release day, and that's that. And then there's the other companies who are like, hey, we support you. You're obviously not going to tell every single person in the world to wear Brooks Ghost, even though like 50% of the community wears it. It's crazy. But like, you're going to say, hey, this works for me, because there is no right shoe for anyone. This is the most ridiculous thing about shoes and in running. It's like, what's the best shoe? Any shoe that works for you. Like, this isn't 2018 when like we all wore Vaporflies because it was the only carbon plated shoe, and like, even if it caused harm to you, you were like, well, I want that 5%. And then we had lots of injuries, but like, there was no other choice, right? It was either don't have it or have it. So like, this is a point in the world where there isn't anything, like, it's there. So like, but like, so that's why when anyone says, like, this is the best shoe for you, they're wrong. This might be the best shoe for me. That's how I would spray it. But like, again, this is just, at the end of the day, what we see as coaches, and what we bring this all the way around to, is like, it's decoupling someone's content you find interesting versus like what you seek as advice, right? So you can consume someone's content as like a YouTube, like it's a Netflix show or like a mini series, whatever you want. Like, cool, look, I get to watch this person routine. They're really good at like showing off their day. They have great music. They're doing fun things. Like, I want to watch this. But at the end of the day, it is just content. It is just a story. It is not like, oh, well, they do all this stuff and they're identifying their wellness around this stuff, that I need it to be that. It's just consuming content for the sake of entertainment. There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of what you see is just entertainment. And the quicker you can see that and acknowledge someone who's educational, who's providing actual educational with science, with not trying to trick you, not trying to manipulate, versus people who are, okay, well, here's my entertainment, but I'm also trying to this is entertainment. I'm not going to consume this as actual education and follow this advice. It's just fun to watch.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Entertainment versus education. And the tricky part is finding accounts that can sit in the middle. If maybe not even I would actually say hard right towards education and get your entertainment from other sources. Just 'cause we're so consumed by what we see on the internet, and it's such a media that, or medium, that you're going to get entertainment regardless. So you might as well lean a little bit further into education. But it's tricky. It's tricky because of everything we said. And I think that just to, again, tie a bow on this conversation, do not compare yourself to somebody else's definition of health and wellness.
Yeah. And, to your point being hard, it's hard in the sense of, you see a lot of people who started social media educationally backed and like a lot of educational content and like very much sitting on that line of like, hey, you don't need to be all in. You could enjoy life and have fun. And then they realized, well, it's easier to get views and likes and shares and grow if I just lean into the other side. Like you can see it all the time when someone puts a post up like, you should balance your life. It's okay to go out the night before a long run. You can do this thing. And they could have the same exact videos, like music, whatever it is, clips, and that post will be terrible 90% of the time. But the person who says, I've given up everything in my life, sacrificed everything because all that matters is my goal, and that post will blow up most of the time because that's what people want to see, because deep down this wellness identity academic has tricked everyone to being like, that's what we need, and that's what we need to, if we see someone like that, it helps motivate me to be better. It doesn't. It just makes you feel worse. Maybe for a tiny bit you're like, okay, I can do that too, and then you realize that that person who's doing it isn't even doing that too because they can't live their life that long. They've burned out long future on, they've burned out. They're not even posting anymore. And you're now living your life in this disordered way because your favorite influencer said you can never drink again. And again, drinking is a personal choice. Like if you like it, you like it. If you don't, I'm not telling anyone what to do with their life. I'm telling you, if someone tells you the only way to your goals is to give up things you love that bring you joy, they're wrong.
You're here. Did we do it?
I actually think we did in fact do it.
We done did it. So we just wanted to say we love you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing us with your families, friends, and fans. Thank you for the reviews. Thank you for supporting us financially with the Buy Me a Coffee link. And thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and you can reach out to us at any time with questions, reviews, or topics that you're curious about at Between Two Coaches, TWOcoaches@gmail.com. I guess we'll see you next time.
Bye.